In this lesson, we'll learn a little bit about some of the tools and techniques for creating our own organic swirls and flourishes inside Illustrator. Alright, so let's say we're working on this web template and we're really feeling sort of like it's a little bit machined and a little bit corporate. Maybe we want to soften it up, maybe stylize it a bit with some organic flourishes and swirls and plant life. So that's actually a look that's fairly popular, and it's actually pretty easy to do here in Illustrator. So I'm going to go ahead and work with some basic shapes I've got created here. Now I've got a couple of different leaf shapes here that I've created just using our pen tool that we can integrate later. And I've got a series of basic shapes that I've created. This one was created using a square, then we've got our triangle. We've got a triangle that has been merged with an ellipse here, creating this rounded end at the bottom, and then we've got a path with two ellipses at the end of it. So I want to use these shapes to create a series of different brushes here that we're going to be able to use to create things like this here. So I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and start creating those brushes. Let's go ahead and grab our brush panel and let's let's modify this one a little bit. Let's shrink that down and create a sort of a shape that's really slender and comes to a tip at both the top and the bottom of that. So I'm going to do that here, and let's just drag that in and create an art brush using that graphic. And I'm going to go ahead and stretch this to fit the stroke length, and I'm not really concerned with the direction because both the ends of this graphic look the same. So let's just go ahead and hit OK on that. And let's go ahead and grab our triangle here. And I'm going to go ahead and stretch that triangle, squeeze that in some, and create a shape that is going to, the brush stroke is essentially going to be the stem or the stalk of our plant life. So let's go ahead and grab that, and let's just drag that shape in and create another art brush here. And again, we're going to stretch it to fit the stroke length. And the direction this time we're going to change. We want this to move up. So you can see here in the preview area, there's a little arrow inside the shape that points down. We want that to point up. So at the end of our brush stroke, we're going to end here at this thin end. So I'm going to be able to draw it from thick to thin. So let's go ahead and hit OK on that one. And let's go ahead and drag this one in and create a third art brush here. And we're going to go ahead and take the defaults here, stretching it to fit the stroke length again. And with this direction, I'm going to go ahead and leave this the way it is because I want this shape to be able to create sort of a bulb type growth off of the main stalk or off the main stem of our plant life. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK on that. And let's go ahead and just zoom in. We're going to do something a little different with this shape right here, these shapes. Let's go ahead and drag those in. We're going to create another art brush out of those, but this time I'm going to stretch it between guides because I don't want to stretch the two ellipses. I just want to stretch this stroke area right here. So I'm going to move this guide down below our ellipses, and let's go ahead and change the direction again to up and hit OK on that one. Alright, so we've created 4 different art brushes here. I'm going to go ahead and take these elements and move them up out of the way here so we have some room to work. And let's go ahead and grab our brush tool. Now, the brush tool is in our toolbox here, and if we double click on that tool, we're going to see some options here. We've got some tolerances for fidelity and for smoothness, and notice I've got my smoothness turned all the way up here. That's going to make the path I draw as smooth as possible. Now, the fidelity controls the number of anchor points that are added to the line or to the path that you draw. Now, the higher the fidelity, the fewer the anchor points, the lower, the more anchor points it's going to add. So let's go ahead and just select OK right now with these options. We've got some other options down below, but we're not going to worry about those right now. We're just going to take the defaults. And let's go ahead and grab a brush stroke here. Let's go ahead and grab our default, this stem shape that we've created, and you know I want that to be a little higher up in this order so I can find it easy, and we just drag that up and reorder those here. Now using this brush stroke, I'm just going to come in and we're going to draw in some nice stem-like shapes here. Now I'm going to start at the bottom and kind of come up sort of like that, and you know maybe I want that to be just a little bit thicker. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and let's come in and double click on that brush. And let's go ahead and increase the width of that just a little bit. Maybe we want to take that up to about 130. And I'm going to go ahead and apply that to strokes. And in doing that, you can see that we've increased the width just a little bit there. So I tell you what, that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and grab our brush again using the B keyboard shortcut. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this brush stroke right here and see what we can't do with that to maybe create some of these other more secondary stem-like shapes here. So I'm going to come in and just draw those in right on top of what we're already doing. Maybe we want to come out at the same direction as this one, or approximately the same direction, and just sort of grow these out just a little bit. Now, at this point, it's really up to you and your creative vision for the flourish that you're working on. So I think that, you know, for this one, we're going to keep it fairly simple. Maybe we want to do something, something just simple like that. So we've got three basic stem-like structures here. Let's come in now and maybe we could do some smaller branches coming off of these with this same brush. Now, if we draw a small path, you can see that's still pretty wide, so maybe we want to come in and modify that brush again. Maybe just come in and modify the width on that. Drop that down to about, let's say about 50 or so. And let's go ahead and leave the strokes alone right now. And then we can come in and draw that in. You can see we've got a nice thin stroke now. So we can come in and just add a few basic sort of branch-like structures coming off of these. So we've got a couple of those. Now we've got some other elements here that we could create. Now another tool I find pretty useful in creating flourishes like this is going to be the spiral tool. Now, spiral tool is really kind of a neat way to terminate these strokes that we've already created, or maybe create some nice little round elements like this coming off of those. So let's go ahead and grab that spiral tool now and just click on our scratch area. And let's sort of plan this out. Now, let's say maybe we want to create a nice spiraling shape coming off right here to the left of this branch. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this option right here. This is the direction of our spiral, and we've got a segments control here as well. So right now it's set to 4 segments. I think that's probably pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and leave the radius and the decay alone here, and let's just go ahead and hit OK. You can see here that what we're left with is this nice spiraling shape. So maybe we want to make a copy of that. I'm just holding down Alt to make a copy and dragging to the side, and let's just go ahead and kind of fit this into position here and rotate that maybe a little bit. And let's see if maybe there's a brush stroke that we've created we could apply to that to make it look pretty nice. So let's come in and maybe grab this stroke right here. And you can see that that adds a whole new effect or feel to that spiral. It gives it sort of this more of a tree-like or more of an organic feel. So I'm going to shrink that down just a little bit here. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and maybe we could make a copy of that, and let's go ahead and apply the basic stroke to that so we can work with just the basic brush stroke, and we'll just stretch this out just a little bit. Maybe we want this to sort of fit around this shape a little. You know, as a matter of fact, maybe we could actually come in and let's just delete that and use our spiral tool and create a spiral with one less segment and see what that looks like. Just rotate that in here. I think that's going to look really nice. So we'll just kind of shrink that down just a little bit here. Maybe we want to just modify the positioning a little bit more. So really at this point it's really up to you as to the look you're going for, but again, the tools and techniques are essentially the same. We're creating shapes and using custom brush strokes to sort of fill in the details of this organic form. You know, maybe we want to come in and grab some of our leaf shapes that we've drawn, and maybe we could integrate some of these into this design as well. Maybe we could come in and just rotate these in and resize these however we need to, and create this nice little leaf that grows off of our stalk here. So let's come in, and we've created another brush stroke here. We created this stroke right here, so let's come in and maybe look for an opportunity to use that. So let's go ahead and grab our brush tool and grab that brush stroke, and let's come over here. Maybe we could pull this in right about in here. Maybe kind of create sort of some nice little elements that grow out of our stalk right here. Maybe I don't want it to be that quite smoothed as much, or smooth quite that much, so I'm just going to come in and maybe pull in a few of these elements right there. Maybe some of them grow out down here as well. tell you what, let's go ahead and grab yet another brush that we haven't touched yet. Let's go ahead and go to our brush panel and grab this one right here. Now, I mentioned maybe having some more bulbous type shapes. Maybe we could come in and pull in some forms sort of like this. You know, again, increasing or decreasing the width if we need to. Let's come in and do that now. We'll just double click and drop that width down to maybe 50 or so. And leave the strokes alone. And maybe we could come in and do a smaller one right here. You know, again, it's just about getting something you're happy with. So you can see here how this is really starting to take shape just using a few basic art brushes as well as this spiral tool. Now, using these tools and techniques and a little bit of creativity, we can come in and create some nice elements like this that are ready to be integrated into our design over to the right. So, in this lesson, we've looked at how we can use a variety of different brushes and techniques to create some nice stylized flourishes and swirls for our design. In the next lesson, we're going to talk a little bit about how we can be more efficient using symbols.